Let's get ready to talk some hockey. Trust the Profits, NHL Rundown, Hockey Rundown. I'm the Formula, and I am joined by my co-host, Jamie. Jamie, how's it going over there?
Pretty good. I just wished it was a little bit warmer here.
Well, we're in the hockey season, so it's not going to get warmer anytime soon unless you plan on some sort of West Coast southern vacation,
Or
maybe.
Florida. I feel bad for Jonathan Huberdeau. I mean, you go from that climate into Calgary Chinook season.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. Well, let's get into our hockey talk, all right? So we're going to be
All right.
talking things with maybe gambling and fantasy implications. That's the idea for this whole YouTube that we're doing, this break off of Trust the Profits. Let's jump into it, though. So let's start at the top. Which team do you think is most likely to repeat going to the Stanley Cup Finals between Tampa Bay and the Avalanche?
Well, the way I look at it is Colorado just lost Kadri. And Nazem Kadri is such a dynamic player. He's got so much speed. He's so skilled. And that's a big thing. Yes?
No, I was going to say kind of a heart and soul player too, right? I mean, he played with that soul with him. I don't know how else to describe it, but he was one of those guys that you could really rally around.
He's not just a dynamic offensive player. He's a guy that draws penalties. He's so good to your team. So, like, even when he's not scoring, when he's drawing those penalties, I mean, putting you in a position to get your team on the power play, all those things, you take that away. It chips away on other guys' production too. Other lines don't have as much protection. The idea is, can Colorado be the same team they were without him? And it's not to say Colorado won't be a cup contender still. They still have Paul Stastny, which is on the back nine of his career. Is he a guy that offers what Kadri does? No, he doesn't offer any means of, drawing penalties that Kadri does. He doesn't have his game-breaking speed. He doesn't have his offensive prowess. So that's going to be fully missed. I look at a team like Tampa Bay. As long as a guy like Nikita Kucherov is healthy, I feel like that team should still be there. There isn't a team out in the East, outside of Pittsburgh, with all the moves they made, that I believe can honestly really challenge Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I feel like Tampa Bay will be there. Do I think Colorado? No.
Yeah. I also like the stability in goal, stability in net for Tampa Bay. Vasilevsky's coming back, and he's one of the best in the business, if not the best.
He is.
And Avalanche made a change in goal. I know a lot of the Avalanche fans like Georgiev a lot. I still think he's a bit untested. It's still a little bit early to say that he's ready to man a Stanley Cup contending team like the Avalanche.
I agree. And the thing is, the way I look at it is it's really hard to always go back in. And the fact is, Tampa Bay's done this 3 times. I think they're I think with the Cap era, they could be the true, what do you call it?
The dynasty.
Dynasty, yes.
Yeah.
I believe they have the defense, they have the goaltending, they have the forwards. I mean, how do you root against a team that has Hedman, that has Vasilevsky, as you said, has Point, Stamkos, who just came off a 100+ point season. Who I honestly think, and don't think I'm crazy for saying this, he could even be a 50-goal scorer. I see Kucherov, if he's healthy, he just adds so much to that team. But that's the thing. Will Kucherov be healthy? And that's the biggest concern.
Right.
And
Okay, let's move on to the next question real quick here. So Connor McDavid led the league in scoring 2 years in a row. Will he do it again?
So this is a guy who was on pace to score 156 points as of the COVID-shortened 56-game season.
It's a lot of points.
I know, 105 points in 56 games. The next score was Draisaitl with 84 points.
Yeah.
The thing is, it was all Canadian division. I feel like the impact of having European and American-born players not being able to move in and out of countries was very difficult on them. So that played an impact. Having a Canadian boy, having the success he had in that division, keep in mind, it wasn't one of the strongest divisions.
Right.
And the thing is, when you play in a division like that, it makes it easier because you see those opponents a lot.
It's a weird year. It's hard to compare that year to anything else, right? It's
hear me out.
Weird.
it's half a dozen teams. So think about when you're seeing teams that much, you don't even have to go back into the video and watch like where the strengths are, where their weaknesses are. You have that figured out. And that's why I think we saw such a huge season out of that year, because his follow-up year was 123-point year. And while that was good, it wasn't anywhere near the 100. So you know why? Because now you're traveling like out east. You're traveling out to more Western-bound teams in the States.
Yeah.
Will place taxing. You're not able to know the teams as well, because you're not able to watch the video at the level that you got to really get to know those teams that you played against.
If anyone can beat him this year in scoring, if anyone can surpass him, who do you think it is?
I think honestly, the only player that can do that is his own teammate, the guy who his own peers, the NHL peers. Hold on.
Yeah.
His NHL peers voted him as the greatest passer, Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
This is a guy who was outstanding in the playoffs. Despite having an injury, he said he changed his game, made it evolve because he wasn't as fast of a skater. So he really focused on how you distributed the puck, how you could create more space for him, because he realized he wasn't able to move as fast. The fact that he could evolve the game as much as he had. Keep in mind, last year he had 40 points in his first 19 games. At the same time, McDavid had 35. But then, as we saw, as the season progressed, Draisaitl had 110 to McDavid's 123. It's really hard to root or vote against McDavid, because he's such a dynamic player. There's no one who plays at the high speeds like him. But at the same time, it's those high speeds and being able to think at those high speeds that could also be a detriment to him. I'm always afraid that is going to lead to injury one day.
Yeah.
But right now, so far, knock on wood, he's been pretty good. Yeah. But in the last 3 years, we've only seen one player take over, and that was because McDavid was injured. So outside of an injury, I can't see anyone overtaking McDavid.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with you. I think the guy I was going to bring up, Austin Matthews, probably not off to the start that he was hoping. Usually we see a lot of goals from him, and I think he's got 2 through the first 9 or first 7. Not looking like the Austin Matthews we would expect. Obviously, these things can come in streaks, right? He could have a really huge week.
And he will.
Yeah.
We saw Caulfield, what he looked like under Marty St. Louis before his former coach. He went from like 1 goal and 8 points in his first 30 games to having like 20 plus goals under the new coach.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the difference between a coach who wants you to play a more defensive minded game, to figure out the game, playing a more 200-foot game, to having a coach that wants you to play less in a systems-based situation, just let you be free to do what you do. Right. Because that's Marty St. Louis, who was a small, diminutive player. So with Matthews, I look at as a guy, this is a guy who was prorated to get 119 points last year, which is 4 short of McDavid's 123. Could Matthews do that? Absolutely. He has the right tools. He's got Marner. He's got Tavares there. He plays with them on the top power play unit. And they have a big defenseman in the back end there who gets a lot of points too. So they have all the right ingredients. And with that shot and the ability for him to think the game he does, but that's the thing. Matthews has to stay healthy. So it's not just the fact that, is this a slow start? Yes, I think he'll speed up. My fear isn't that he can't improve on what he's doing right now. It's, can he stay healthy for a whole season?
Absolutely. So gave you a preview of what I was going to show here in a second. We're talking about the current with Connor McDavid. What about sorry, I was jumping one ahead. What's the best deal on FanDuel? So we're talking about who's going to win the Stanley Cup. Obviously, there are a lot of deep odds out there. The favorite, according to FanDuel right now, at a plus 450 is the Avalanche. But looking at this list, who do you see as possibly the best bargain right now? Or who do you think would be a decent play?
You know what? I don't know. I would say I love Calgary.
We both do. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Calgary. I think, I know this is going to sound crazy. When you have you look at the goalie out. So they have, Jacob Markstrom, a 2.22 goals against average, 9.22 save percentage, 9 shutouts. He was a candidate for the Vezina.
Amazing season last year. Yeah.
Amazing year. And then as a backup, they have Vladar, who they extended to 2 years. And then as a third stringer, who's sitting in the minors right now, is Dustin Wolf. This is HL Goalie of the Year material. This is a guy who was amazing in junior hockey, very strong goalie. People always said he was a product of the team. I'd say no, it was a little bit of both. Product player, product of the team. So he's the future of that team. And then you look at their defense. They just added Maxim Weegar in that trade. And then you look at, that. And then you look at the fact that that's already a team loaded with Hanifin. You look at Rasmus Andersson, who I think is going to have another gear. And then you look at, they have a shutdown guy in Tanev. And then you look at their forwards. I mean, who can replace losing your two best players in the offseason in Gaudreau and Tkachuk, and then replace the offense with 150 and a prorated 100-point player in Kadri, which is crazy. Nobody does that. Terberling, if he doesn't win GM of the year, I don't know. I think it's rigged.
Yeah, we talked about that just last week when we were preparing this, and I think at the time Calgary was probably a plus 1,400 as opposed to a plus 1,000 like they are now. And just the fact that when they were going into the offseason, they were looking at losing Tkachuk, looking at losing Gaudreau, and everybody thought, okay, well, we got to rethink what Calgary is. And when they turned it around and got Huberdeau and Kadri and other stuff coming back in that package for Tkachuk, all of a sudden they looked like they became a better team somehow, which is amazing, as you said. And, they keep Markstrom in goal, who is a great goalie for right now. And their defense looks strong, which is something I always look at when I'm looking for a cup contender. Could be Calgary's year. I think so. Plus 1,000. I like that.
And I'll say this, and to interject, I'll just say that, so here's the deal. Calgary, in my opinion, is the best overall team in Canada. And maybe the best overall team out in the West. I would say that should be Colorado, but losing Calgary is so huge. Like I said, there's so many elements to that game. And like I said, what Tkachuk was, he, I believe, drawed more penalties than he took. And he was such a good guy at getting it. Like, you remember he did with Zach Kassian, getting under people's skin that way. That's what Kadri is. Already he got under Evander Kane's skin. My point is,
like another Tkachuk from the past, right?
Absolutely. And, I like that. I like seeing guys like that. So when I look at that, I look at Toronto. They have the best top six, but I like the four lines in Calgary. I like their defense more than Toronto's. I like their goaltending more than Toronto. I mean, you went from Frederik Andersen to Jack Campbell, and then finally to Murray and Samsonov. Now we know Murray. It's like, what? He's made of glass.
He is.
Already, he's missed the first month of the season.
Oh, and I know it.
And he's one of those guys. He's either really hot or really cold. His numbers are either one of the worst in the league or one of the best. And I don't like a goalie that is like voodoo. I don't like not knowing what
stability.
I'm being
You want stability out of a netminder.
And like you said about Colorado's goalie, I feel the same way with Samsonov. Samsonov hasn't really been tested. It's not to say I don't think Toronto can't have a good year. I'm just saying, for me, Calgary from top to bottom, they're so well built. And the fact that Terberling was able to take such a negative and make a positive out of that was amazing. How many players who just walk out of a team become better? Look at New York Islanders. They lost John Tavares. Yes, going from a Doug Weight, run and gun system, they went to Barry Trotz system. So by losing Tavares was addition by subtraction. They were a better team for it. But how many teams were better? Look at Columbus when they lost Bernard for nothing. So the fact that Gaudreau walked out, it opened up avenues for them to sign all these other players. And I just think they've done a fantastic job.
They have. Okay, moving on. Like I was saying, we're talking about the future here. Now we're here. The Calder Cup. Best deal on here to win the Calder Cup. Is there anyone you like here? I'll jump in and say I like Cole Perfetti.
Cup, by the way, I will correct you on that. So the Calder Trophy.
The Calder Cup. You're right. That's AHL.
Is awarded to the top AHL team, and I understand.
I misspoke.
He does know. It's just sometimes
you're correct.
It's the Calder Trophy.
I looked at the Calder. I said cup. So anyway, Cole Perfetti, a guy who's in your neighborhood, who's already off to a great start. He's already proven that he, at 20 years old, is way too advanced for the AHL with everything that he's done.
I don't even have to go there. You've already done it for me.
Exactly. Who else do you like on this list, by the way?
So this is the reason why I like Cole Perfetti. I need to go there. So he was scouted. Keep in mind, this is stylistically. Doesn't mean he's going to have that output. He has been compared, what the scouts would say, to Leon Draisaitl and Nikita Kucherov. That's huge company to be compared to when it comes to stylistic game, to the way you play your game, your skill set. And this guy makes stuff out of nothing happen.
Yeah.
He's such a cerebral player, and he has such a good nose for net and such sweet hands. Like, I love this guy. And sweet hands. No, what am I saying? So this might come back to haunt me. Sorry for that. Anyway, this is a kid who is, number one, you have to look at how talented the player is on their own. And then you also have to look at who they play with. Now, he's had bouts of playing with Wheeler and Dubois, which is huge. And he's on the secondary power play. So we know he's got good usage and good minutes. And that is good on a good, strong Winnipeg Jets team. And trust me, they'll be much better than they were last year under Bones. So the way I look at it is the way your takeaway from him is you have to look at who the player is playing with. And I think Perfetti's in the best position, skill and talent, hockey IQ, and the ability to play with great players. That puts him in the driver's seat. But then I look at a guy like Shane Pinto. That's another guy I like. This is a guy that went second round, 32nd overall. The scout begged and pleaded that the team draft him because they said, we lost our first round pick, I believe, in that Matt Duchene draft. Yeah. So, in deals, sorry. So the idea was, okay, we need a good player. He's a 200-foot player. He plays a lot similar to Mark Stone's game. He's so good at anticipating the play, squaring the player up. He's good at stealing the puck, eating up scoring lanes, and he's got great transition from defense to offense. And what's so big about 200-foot players, and I get it when it comes to fantasy hockey, people don't like players that are compared to Mark Stones and Patrice Bergeron's because they don't have, the outlook of being those 90, 100-point players. But the thing about being a 200-foot player is your coach, you have more, what's the word I'm looking for? You have more of
liability.
More of the coach's
reliability.
Trust. Yeah. You're more, your coach trusts you more. So you're going to get more those minutes right away. So for a guy like that, it's usage. You can't get the production without getting the minutes. And right now he's made a lot of it. Pinto may not have the shot of a Josh Norris or look as fancy as Stutzy out there, but he does all the little things right. And the thing that I like about Shane Pinto most, and I'll say this goes for everyone, the most important ingredient in hockey to have is confidence. And the kid has it in spades.
Yeah.
This is a kid, when he was interviewed, they said, what do you think you are? He says, I'm a 200-foot player, very responsible, both without the puck and on the puck. And you know what he said? He said his upside is that of a 70-point player. I mean, this kid,
he's putting it out there. And obviously we're overlooking here the number 1 overall draft pick, Yuri Slafkovsky. I think both of us are kind of down on him. Probably think it's a bit too early for him.
I think he's a little too green, and I feel like he's a little – it's like the way I look at Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton came in the league at 18. He had 7 points, 55 games. This is a guy who had 125 points in his best season, 05-06, followed up with a 114-point year.
Yeah.
This is a thing where I feel like he's probably a year or two away from making a major impact. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these first overall picks. The idea is to play them right away. And I think sometimes that could hurt them.
Yep.
And you want to build up these kids' confidence. And I don't think it's the best thing, but I don't have him as a favorite. You know who I do like, and I'm going to go with a goalie here. Everyone, of course, likes this guy. Logan Thompson. He already has a 4-2 record. He already has, 1 or 2 shutouts. He's a 169 goals against average for 942 save percentage.
He's getting opportunities.
Those numbers will change. Obviously, he's not going to keep the 169 goals against average or 943. I think realistically, he'll be around 230 for goals against average. His save percentage might be 950, 920.